guys, welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Football Married Edition, your new favorite place for all things fantasy football, NFL hot takes, questionable opinions, and just enough marital disagreements to keep things interesting, because whether he wants to admit it or not, I am indeed always fucking right. All right, cool. We're your hosts, Amanda and Drew, and we're recording this episode on August 17th. Football season, we can smell it. It is in the air, baby, and it is
close.
Almost fully back. Fantasy drafts are right around the corner. In fact, I just talked to some people on social media because we just announced that obviously we're doing this together as opposed to last year with me and Ange, and some girls already had drafts, which is dark and dismal, wild fucking times, right? Because as we'll jump into right now, and I like to highlight the date because I want you guys to know when we're recording this based on what information we're going to go over, there's already some interesting injuries taking place. So I'm going to let my handsome co-host take over and go over some of the injuries already starting to pile up before the season even starts.
Yeah, having your draft already is wild. So Labor Day weekend, that's when we always have our draft for my home league. That's the best weekend to do it because it's as close as you can get to the regular season. So you're not drafting somebody and then they get hurt in the preseason and out for the year or half a year or whatever. And then all of a sudden, you're screwed right out of the gate. So try to push that back as far as you can. If you've already had your draft, sorry, we didn't get these out a little bit earlier for you. But for the ones that are upcoming, we already have some injuries piling up. So Puka, groin injury. So anytime you're talking groins, hammies, soft tissue, anything like that, they tend to linger a little bit. So he was supposed to be back this week starting today. He is not back yet, so keep an eye on that. Mekhi Lemon, rookie with the Philadelphia Eagles. Hammy, he hasn't practiced since August 4th, so keep an eye on that as well. Emeka Egbuka has got a toe injury. Todd Bowles, his head coach, he described the injury as day-to-day or week-to-week.
Because vague. Really early vague nature.
Yeah,
I love it.
Very good coach speak. He'll be back when he's back, so it helps us as fantasy players a lot. That one I'm a little worried about. Not worried about Puka. Mekhi wasn't a big target of mine anyway. Mm-hmm. And then here's a couple more. Breece Hall, groin strain, non-contact injury, just happened. Aaron Glenn, his head coach, says he doesn't think it's a big deal. We'll see. Hopefully he's back to practice in a couple days. I'm not going to make any ranking adjustments for him just yet until I get further information. Alec Pierce, wide receiver for the Colts, coming off a huge contract this offseason. Should be stepping into a much bigger role. Has not been practicing for a while. Had ankle surgery in the offseason. He's not expected back during training camp, but they're hopeful for week 1, so keep an eye on that report. And then the biggest one hits home a little bit because he was my first selection in one of my Superflex Dynasty League. Jeremiah Love, rookie standout for the Cardinals. High ankle sprain sustained in the first preseason game, and they're hopeful that he'll be ready for week 1. So that does impact a little bit as we get a little bit closer. If you are drafting in a week, 2 weeks' time, you're going to want to pay attention to that report, because if he's back healthy, ready to go, I'm all in. If it's still lingering, he'll get off to a slow start. So just be aware of that.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the time of the year where, specifically with preseason going on now, you just want to keep your eye on any type of injury reports that are coming out. Again, you don't want to overreact. It's easy to I'm going to take him off my draft board altogether. Let's not be dramatic about anything. You want to wait till you get official news, but it definitely is the time of the year where injuries start to rack up, and we see a lot of groins go down this time of the year.
Groins and hammies. Yeah, don't overreact by one report that comes out. You just got to pay attention to it, right? And then also a really big thing, you're going to listen to this episode. We're recording it on August 17th. Your draft might be September 1st. Just be aware that you want to make sure you check the reports on the players before your draft day, because that could obviously change some of the rankings from what we tell you today versus draft day. So just pay attention to it.
Absolutely. And that's going to lead us right into the episode today. We have the top 20 running back rankings. There's a ton to get into, so we are going to cut the fluff and jump right in. But like Drew just said, these are our rankings as of 8/17. There is still a lot of time for shit to change. But let's dive in right to our number 1 and number 2. And these guys are really synonymous. They are one in the same when it comes to draft capital at the top of your board. We are talking about Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs as our 1A and 1B situation. I think at first, I favored the mustard man simply because I fucking love mustard, okay? Favorite condiment on the planet, and Bijan was my guy last year. In fact, purchased his mustard line because it was good, okay? But I am going to look at, the difference between these two is really just belief in the offensive unit, in my opinion. And if we look at what offense is going to score a lot of fucking points this season as a guaranteed and is going to thrive, it's the Lions. I am going to hang my hat on Gibbs being that first select. Like if I had the first pick, that's who I'm taking in the draft, simply because I just believe in that offense. I know, right? As I have changed my mind, I've waited on it for so
3 days ago,
long.
it was Bijan Robinson, and I was Gibbs, and then now you just don't want to be wrong. That's the issue. You don't want to be wrong.
I just
so
think
now you got to switch.
Are they going to struggle the entire year as an offensive unit? Maybe. What if they can't convert and can't score and can't get downfield?
It's touchdown opportunities. That's the biggest thing there. Gibbs and Bijan are both amazing players. They're both going to run well. They're both going to receive, catch the ball in the backfield well. It's just how many touchdowns do you think the Lions are going to score, and how many do you think that the Falcons are going to score? And that's the tiebreaker. So I'm Gibbs all the way there. I wouldn't fault you for picking Bijan either. You just kind of have to go with your gut on that one. But yeah, I'm definitely Gibbs. So. After those top two, Bijan and Gibbs, we have CMC as our number 3. We are higher than a lot of consensus rankings out there. He's still 3 for me. A little bit of injury news is he is dealing with a little bit of injury right now. Unfortunately, he's got, let me see.
I was going to say, what injury is he dealing with? I didn't even see it come out yet.
I don't have it written down here. He's just been banged up at practice, so they've been taking it easy on him. But that's always the worry with him. I mean, you're a 30-year-old running back, but he's a god out there on the field. Yeah. He's so good. So I definitely have him up at the 3 spot. I know you have him real high as well. What do you love about CMC?
Yeah, I think if we just look at what he did last year, being one of the primary targets for that team with so many injuries, it's really kind of a mirror, right? We don't have Pearsall. He's out for the year. Jennings isn't with the team anymore. Mike Evans is incredibly injury prone. Kittle's just coming back from injury. So, he's hopeful to start week 1, but who really knows? He had the targets as a running back. He had more targets than some wide receiver ones on some teams. He had 129 targets last year as a running back. Like, in my opinion, the value of that in a running back is just so high for PPR leagues. And it's just obviously sheer volume and just the way he's using that offense. Just as long as he can stay healthy, I think this is, and he's going to win you. He wins fantasy football leagues every year.
Yeah, absolutely. He's won me 4 straight in my dynasty league. He's been the rock behind all of them. Like I said, he's a god on the field, and I will ride Christian McCaffrey until the wheels completely fall off. And just fingers crossed that those wheels have, a year or 2 left to tread on him before that starts to taper off there. So real excited about him. I'm even more excited about, well, I guess we have a little bit different rankings. Next on yours is going to be Jonathan Taylor, and then mine's going to be Kenneth Walker. Why Jonathan Taylor over Kenneth Walker?
I know. I get why you're so hot on Kenneth Walker, in my opinion. I just think Jonathan Taylor is, number one, I'm going to say slightly safer bet. I don't even know if that's truly the case or not. Obviously, we saw Jonathan Taylor at the beginning of the year when Daniel Jones was there. He was on fire. He was a monster. He was breaking runs. He scored a ton of touchdowns. He was just amazing for fantasy football. Obviously, that changed when Daniel Jones went down and he was no longer a part of that offense. He didn't have a reliable quarterback. I think the tone changes this year and continues like it was when Daniel Jones left last year. I think they can get Jonathan Taylor involved again and have him have a spectacular year. So I'm just going to take the predictability of Jonathan Taylor in that offense over Kenneth Walker, who I haven't seen with that offensive unit yet. Obviously, everyone in the running back room is injury fucking prone, but I think also I like the energy of the Colts, and they're going to come back and want to reclaim the trajectory they were on at the beginning of the year before they fell off the cliff there.
Does Daniel Jones coming back from the injury that he had last year worry you at all? He's going to be less mobile. I mean, like you said, Jonathan Taylor was incredible in the beginning of the year, and then by the end of the year, I mean, you're talking the last 6 weeks of the year, 15, 9, 13, 16, 17, and 5 points per game.
Yeah.
It's good. It's not running back 3 territory. It's not the 37, 36, 23, 34 that he was getting earlier in the year.
Fair. I mean, yes, less mobile, Daniel Jones coming back specifically right after injury, but it's not Phillip Rivers. It's not completely can't move at all status. They still have to treat Daniel Jones with
Get
respect.
off
They got to
of
put
Phillip
some
Rivers'
respect.
back. He's had
Old man
19
Rivers, baby.
children.
We didn't have to worry
He was coaching
about
high
old man
school
Rivers
football.
in the backfield.
Yeah,
I don't care.
look,
I just say even a less mobile Daniel Jones is far more of a threat than Phillip Rivers ever was, and it just gives that offense way more of a beat up, which makes Jonathan Taylor more relevant, in my opinion.
all right. I like Kenneth Walker. He's our next consensus guy. I have him at 3. Better offense, better head coach, better quarterback. I just and an incredible athlete. Jonathan Taylor, I think he's a better pure running back than Kenneth Walker, but Kenneth Walker is incredible in his own right. I absolutely love Kenneth Walker. He is now officially free of the Seahawks' fucking stupidity. He's free of Zach Charbonnet. He doesn't have to deal with getting taken off the field every 2 downs because the team wants, 2.5 yards a carry that they're going to get from Charbonnet. They don't really have anybody else in Kansas City. They shouldn't be taking Walker off the field. I'm just incredibly high on him this year. I believe it depends on ADP, but I think I'm taking Kenneth Walker over everyone but Gibbs and Bijan. So I'm very high on him this year.
You would jump up on the draft board to take him earlier than
Over
necessary?
CMC.
Over CMC and them. Interesting.
Yeah, it's not that I have to jump. I'm not going to take Kenneth Walker with the 105, right? But if I've got a late first-round pick, Kenneth Walker right now is ADP's 209. It's not going to stay there. I think it's going to move up higher than that. But at the turn, yeah, I think I take him at the back end of the first, early second. And I'm comfortable with him being my RB1 on my team. Okay. And the injury risk, yes, he's dealt with injuries, but it's nothing like what CMC's dealt with, and he doesn't have a substation next to him. So I think I take him as my 3rd running back.
Fair. All right, moving on to number 6, and I do believe we were consensus at number 6 with James Cook. Am I correct? We were in agreement with this being both at our number 6 ranking, and I think he belongs here. I think we all thought last year he'd have a regression year. It was talked a lot about in fantasy football drafts in 2025 that James Cook is going to regress and he's not going to be able to keep up the threshold that he did the season previous, and he surely did not regress. He had another great season. Obviously, this is now his several seasons now with Buffalo. So he's had a lot of experience in that offense. He's a great running back. I think that he's just an overall safe running back bet. I don't have as much excitement of like maybe the potential that he could be. I think he's a little bit of a safer option in my opinion, but steady type of horse you could ride on in my opinion.
Yeah, I think he's an incredible running back. If you look at, 2023, he had 1,100 yards. Mm-hmm. 2 years ago in 24, he had 1,000 yards. Last year, he jumped it to 1,600 yards. Yeah. So he's consistently been on the field and very good. The biggest thing was in that 24 season, what had held him back in years prior was touchdowns. Well, he skyrocketed from 2 touchdowns a year to 16 in 2024, and everybody kind of expected that to come back down to earth a little bit more. And while it did regress, it didn't regress that far. He had 12 last year, and then as I said earlier, he made up for it in the yardage totals that he had. So an RB8 and an RB6 finish last 2 years, I think he's right in that range again, somewhere in the 6 to 8 range. New head coach was already his offensive coordinator. Joe Brady loves to run the football. I think he's a great pick, and he's a great value for where you get him at the back end of the first round.
Yeah. No, I agree. Moving into our 7 and 8, we have 2 different names here. Ashton Genty, Devon Achane. I think we might slightly disagree. I think you had Genty a little bit above than where I had Achane. I think I had Achane valued above Genty.
Yeah, you had Achane rather high.
I did.
In my opinion, you had him at 5.
Mm-hmm.
I have Devon Achane at 11. So I've got a few guys ahead of him that are still left to come. He's very good. He's just on a fucking terrible team. The Dolphins are not good. He lost Mike McDaniel, so he's not going to have the same offense that they've had in years past where the head coach or the offensive coordinator is designing a lot of pass plays to Achane. they're going to be able to still pass the ball to him. It's just not going to be as well as it was before because Mike McDaniel's unique in the way that he uses the running back position. So they don't have that. Then on top of that, they have a quarterback who can run the football in Malik Willis. So that is going to take opportunities away where Malik is not going to check the ball down. And also you're going from Tua, who basically played like a 45-year-old quarterback that couldn't move anymore because he couldn't get hit. If he gets hit, he could die.
Correct. Concussed.
Like, it's just, yeah. And look, I get it, but like that was a perfect storm of why Achane got so many receptions. And I just don't see that happening this year. So I have him falling back to earth a little bit, and I'm going to appropriately, in my opinion, put him down towards the RB10 position where good running backs on bad teams belong, in my opinion.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I view him a little bit differently. I think that you might end up being able to get him at a steal. He's ADP at 112 right now. So, I mean, I think I wouldn't take him that early in the draft, let's say. However, I think if I could get him mid or end of the second round, then it would be a no-brainer.
Mid or end of the second round?
Yeah.
He'll never drop that far. Right now he's at the end of the first round.
Well, hey,
Look,
I think
if
a lot of people are sketch.
If Devon Achane drops to the back of the second round, I'll be glad to take him. But where's your cutoff point where you'll take him?
Oh, I would
if
take
I'm
him.
at ADP, let me look at ADP real quick. If I look at ADP for at least what's going on right now.
I think for me, Devon Achane, he's proved to us that he can be that guy. Like, if you're looking for a guy that could absolutely bust out and perform at high fucking levels, it's him. He has so much opportunity as a player to completely put poop on his name and drop him that low. Yeah, I know he's in a shitty offense, but they got to get the ball moving somehow. And you don't think he's elite enough to get the ball moving? And to get you don't think they're going to scheme around him because they've seen the success of him in previous offensive units?
Okay, as of right now, Devon Achane, I'll read who's going around him. You've got Trey McBride. You taking Trey McBride or Devon Achane?
I don't like to take my tight ends early, so I would take Devon Achane.
Okay. James Cook, Devon Achane.
Yeah, I would take Achane as well.
You take Achane over James Cook?
I would take Achane over Cook, yes.
Okay. Drake London.
Oh, I don't like Drake London, so I would take Achane.
A.J. Brown.
I would take A.J. Brown.
Okay. So
I have my line in the sand. I value the possibility of Achane over like a Drake London, in my opinion, who has just as many issues from a team standpoint that I'm worried about as Devon Achane.
No, I get that, but at the 112, I read the names around the 112, and you're taking Achane over all of them, so you'll take him where his ADP is, and you're happy with it. I personally wouldn't be, but again, that's why there's two of us on this show. You get differing opinions, and you got to just kind of go with what side you agree with more.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I feel about the next name is Genty. I personally would pass on Genty, specifically where I think you might have to take him from a value standpoint. I don't trust the value, or I don't trust having to give up the value for what I think I'm going to get out of Genty this year in fantasy football.
Yeah, I mean, he's, again, going a couple picks later than Achane. I like Genty more than Achane for the simple fact of he's got a better coach. Clint Kubiak with the Las Vegas Raiders now, he was the belle of the ball this offseason for coaches. He's the Ben Johnson of this year. Mm-hmm. You're expecting great things. He won a Super Bowl as the offensive coordinator of the Seahawks last year. Look what that offense did. Look what they produced at the running back position. The only thing that gives me a little bit of worry is that offensive line. Are they going to be better than last year? I hope so, because they were abysmal last year. But he's also going to get a ton of work, right? The only thing that's, real worrisome was it Kubiak who took Kenneth Walker off the field and put Sharps on the field that much?
I was just going to say,
McDonald?
You freaking
That's
raged
what gives me the
over
pause.
the Sharps.
Yeah.
That goal line, is he even going to be a goal line back? Is he going to be on the goal line? Or they put somebody else in?
No. Genty will be the goal line back. But Genty is also, he's drafted higher. He's a better prospect. He's a better all-around football player than Walker. So I don't see it being an issue. It's just really load management throughout the year. But I would take Genty over Achane myself, and I'm fine at the 1-2 turn taking him.
That's fair. All right, up to our number 9 running back on in our list anyways, Chase Brown is up next. We talked about this in our quarterback episode. Essentially, there's a few offenses that we really, really like, specifically when a good offense has a really shitty defense, right? And the Cincinnati Bengals check all of those boxes, and Chase Brown falls into that category of I love him for that simple fact of, number one, we saw his usage become more and more valuable as the year progressed last year. And I just think in that offense with a defense that's going to let up so many points, the offense has to score. Chase Brown's a valuable running back. He's still got a lot of life left in him. And I think that this is just a really solid, consistent running back option here at number 9.
Yep, I agree. Joe Burrow's health. That's the biggest thing for me is, does Joe Burrow stay healthy or not? And if he does, I think Chase Brown has a great year. And if he doesn't, well, you're probably going to end up getting a lot of what you got in the beginning of last year, which is, 10 points a game.
Until
you're going to be a little disappointed.
What week was it when he busted out? Because I remember vividly there was a
Week
trade
8.
in our girls' league, and it was right at that moment. And then it became Chase Brown's that guy. He was really disappointing. And then it was boom, he lit on fire.
He was about 10 points a game for the first 7 weeks of the year. And then week 8 hit, played the Jets, 25 and a half points.
How about their strength of schedule? Is it difficult for the lead-in of the year? Do you know that?
Let me look.
Because, that's also something that, not that, I would ever,
Tampa, Tampa, Houston, Pittsburgh, Jacksonville, Miami are the first 5 games. Tampa, assuming that Vita Vea gets his contract situated, should still be good. Houston, obviously, great defense.
Good.
Pittsburgh, good defense, should be better this year. Last year, they were supposed to be an elite defense and then just weren't for nobody really knows what reason. But they should be better. So it's not a great start, but I don't care a whole lot about that if Joe Burrow's healthy, because the team with Joe Burrow and the receiving options,
it's a different team. Yeah.
Pick your poison as a defense. You're going to have to take something away. I would imagine you're going to try to take away the passing game before you take the running game away. So I'm not worried about the schedule for him.
And there's
Quite
nobody
frankly,
else there as
Joe
a running
Burrow.
back. It's the volume that Chase Brown will get is just outstanding. There's nobody else there that's going to rival his production. So it's a no-brainer that he's keeping. Yes, an ultimate. He's keeping the volume there, which again you're looking at. You're like, I don't even have to worry about a 50-50 split at any point because he's keeping the load. Yeah. All right, moving on to Amari and Hampton. This is someone that I'm super intrigued by this year. Specifically we talked about this earlier with Devon Achane, and who was masterminding a lot of those short check down passes was Mike McDaniels. He's now the offensive coordinator for the Chargers, which in my opinion makes Amari and Hampton a little extra sexy this year. Now, he does like to favor the hot hand with running backs, but if we can take what happened in Week 17 against Houston for Amari and Hampton, he had 14 carries, 8 receptions, and 22 touchdowns. If he can build upon an 8 reception as a running back, that makes my heart get a little bit bigger, and it makes me very excited because I love when my running back is involved in that pass game. And I think, again, offensive coordinator transition, that elevates Amari and Hampton in my eyes. And I think it's going to be an exciting year for him as long as, again, health obviously is a factor always.
Yep, love Amari and Hampton this year. The Chargers' offensive line was a nightmare last year.
It's not this year.
It shouldn't be this year. The biggest reason was they have 2 Pro Bowl linemen, Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt, that got hurt last year, and that was a big reason why their line was terrible. They're both back this year. I think they're going to be a very high-flying, good offense. Mike McDaniel is a very good offensive coordinator. Jim Harbaugh is a good head coach, as much as, you may not like him.
Yeah.
He's, being a Michigan guy and, us not being Michigan guys. But he's a very good head coach. So I love Amari and Hampton. I think he's going to have a big year. He's going to catch the ball in the backfield. I'm not worried about other running backs coming in and getting work. Yes, it's going to happen, but I'm not worried about it. Look what Achane did last year and the year before with Miami. So I think he's a great pick. I also love where he's going in the, right now ADP 205. I don't have to take him with my first round pick. So if I'm sitting, right there if I'm, at the back end of the first round, pick an 8-9 spot, and then I can get an elite receiver, a really good receiver, and then on the turn come back around and get Amari and Hampton, I think it's a really good way to start a draft.
Yeah, no, I agree. Moving on to a couple oldies here. We're going to talk Saquon Barkley first. Well, we always say old. Now we're too old to think these guys are old because we're 34 now. And Saquon Barkley's what, in his 30s? He's 30? Did he just turn 30? Oh, okay. So it's embarrassing calling this man old, but nonetheless old for the beating that football does put on your body. However, Saquon Barkley is an interesting name. It's a different offense this year. There's a lot of different changes that have happened, and I'm excited to see how this impacts Saquon Barkley. I also think, well, his schedule, beginning of the year schedule, is fairly easy, so that also puts him in an upper echelon of strength of schedule early on. My only question would be, if you're looking at his ADP in conjunction with like Saquon Barkley, Omarion Hampton, Chase Brown, if you had to pick between those running backs, who are you preferencing out of that tier running backs in that option?
Omarion Hampton.
Omarion Hampton out of those three.
Yep.
How about?
Yep, I'm taking Omarion Hampton.
No, you don't think Genty or Achane would get down into that realm. So it would really be Brown, Hampton, and Barkley are the three. Well, I mean, I guess you can throw Henry in there, but I wouldn't.
I mean, I think they're all in a close enough range to where you just, you pick the ones that you like better between, Brown, Genty, Hampton, Barkley, all those guys. ADP wise, James Cook should be gone. So you're looking at, Barkley at the 201, maybe Achane at the 112 is still there. Genty, Hampton, wherever is. I'm taking Hampton over Barkley. I'm also taking Barkley over Achane myself. I think Barkley's going to have a good year, a little bit of a bounce back. I don't think he's got the RB1, RB2, maybe even RB3 upside. Yeah, I don't think that's there anymore. So I don't think you're going to want to draft him with the expectation that he's going to finish in the top 3. I think he can get to RB5 or 6 still. I think he can have a higher touchdown year. You're going to lose touchdowns to Jalen Hurts, and how good's the Eagles offense with the new OC? So I think he's a little bit limited, but I also, barring injury, I don't see him dropping much more than, running back 13, 14. So I think he's a safe pick.
Yeah. No, I agree. I would also preference a Hampton over a Barkley, in my opinion, as well, simply for the touchdown possibility and how many touchdowns when you have Saquon Barkley in your team and you watch the tush-push line up for Jalen Hurts, you just want to throw eggs at your TV screen because it's sad. So I like the touchdown possibility of Omarion Hampton. I think he could potentially get in the end zone a little bit more than Brown or Barkley, so I agree. How about your takes on good old Derrick Henry?
It's just steady. He's the king. He's always there. He always does what he does the year prior, and he's great. Obviously, he's another year older. Mm-hmm. He's still in great shape. However, you're not going to see, 300 touches from Derrick Henry. They're new head coach, new regime, so we'll see how they split carries up. New offensive coordinator in Declan Doyle. We'll see what that looks like. But again, his days of being a top 4, top 5 running back, they're over, in my opinion. But could he still break into the top 10? Yeah. But I'm more excited about, a Hampton or a Genty or some of these younger guys. I'm a little bit more excited about them than I am for King Henry. But he's still a good player. So it's not a throwaway pick. I don't hate him. And where he's going, at the end of the second, early third, I think he's appropriately priced in that range as well. So I don't think it's a reach to take him where he's going.
Yeah. I think if this was my first running back off the board, I would preference some other names surrounding him outside of Henry. If I went elite wide receiver first and I'm falling down and now I have to take my first running back, or I'm choosing to take my first running back, I should say, I'm probably going to leave Derrick Henry off of my fantasy team and take other values around him, even if I did have to go a little bit lower on the board and choose beneath him. We do have a couple interesting names of, obviously, Josh Jacobs. He had some, was it him who had some
off the field
snafus?
Mm-hmm.
What did he do? I love to know the drama. Give me the tea. What happened?
I have to remember. It involves a domestic dispute.
Oh, motherfuckers! Got it. Why are they hitting women? Can we just not? Can we not?
I don't. I
hold it back, brothers.
I don't remember the story exactly. I just remember that I believe it was a domestic violence or domestic something. I also do know that he was cleared or charges were never filed. Basically, it just went away, like really, really quickly. So, I don't like jumping to conclusions until I know for sure. But
Money.
as of right now, the NFL is not even doing anything about it. And the NFL typically does stuff
They
quicker.
take it pretty seriously,
So, as of right now, nothing. He does have a little bit of an injury concern right now. So, again, take a look at that. I think it's groin.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah,
I also just think, like, Josh Jacobs is, like, just kind of, I'm trying to think of, like, the appropriate analogy here. I just feel like he's kind of just like
there,
like a vegetable. Like, he's always on the plate. Like, it's not always very exciting, though. He's just like a veggie. You're like,
That's
he's good.
Pretty good. Yeah, I
but
mean,
like, meh.
It's the biggest thing. I mean, he's there, right? He doesn't make super explosive plays all the time, but he puts the ball in the end zone, and they really like to run the ball around the goal line. So if he's there and not suspended and the groin injury holds up, maybe I look at him. I typically, at that 307, that's where he's going right now. Again, it depends on the mix of guys that I have on my team. If I have really good receivers and I need him to be my RB1, I'm fine with that. If I happen to have a need for somebody who can explode or really outpace his ADP, I think I'm going to go with a couple of the guys just a little bit lower because I think the upside for the receiving work is a little bit higher.
Yep, I agree. All right, moving on from Josh Jacobs into a young buck, fresh blood in the NFL, Jeremiah Love. Our only issue is he did suffer an ankle injury. So, like, that is new. It happened. They said he was, like, could have returned to the game, but gonna rest it, make sure he's okay.
It's a high ankle, not a low ankle. So you're looking at a 3-week timetable. It's about 3 weeks. The latest report was that,
and we know they have plenty of fucking running backs to cover him while he's out. They have like a plethora of RBs.
Tyler
now.
Algier going to come and snipe his
James
touchdowns
Conner.
just like the James Conner. I'm not worried about him at all. But Tyler Algier, they paid him money and then they screwed him by drafting Jeremiah Love. So I would imagine they're going to utilize both of them. So Jeremiah Love's upside is capped in my opinion because, one, he's a rookie. Two, they do have a relatively deep running back room. I believe that he will not be the goal line back. I think Algier will be the goal line back. And if they're supposed to be terrible, so if you get deeper into the season and they're really bad and Jeremiah Love starts to get worn down or get a few nicks and get banged up, they'll probably shut him down for the year. We've seen that happen with a lot of teams in recent years, shutting down their rookies so they don't get hurt at the end of the season. I assuming he's there week 1, I think he's a great guy to draft. And then maybe midway through the year, you start looking at maybe I could offload him just in case he gets shut down at the end of the year.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I play a little safer. He's someone that makes me really nervous for everything you just mentioned. He's probably someone that I don't love on my team. It was like
nerves don't win titles.
Oh, I know they don't. Even like Ashton Genty, rookie, went in the first round last year, and that was kind of like, oh my gosh, like you don't typically see that happening. Jeremiah Love, there's so many stacks against him that makes me very, very nervous for his production, but. Again, if you can still gut it up and make the decision, like he said, you might be able to offload him later in the year if you want to get rid of him. He is a big name that people might want to take. All right, moving over to Kyren Williams of the Los Angeles Rams. How do we feel?
How scared are you of Blake Corum?
Absolutely terrified. Last year it was first of all, they look the fucking same from behind, okay? Their numbers are very similar.
In a full uniform.
Oh, yes. I'm
in
not
a full uniform with helmet,
raw
obviously.
Out in the world.
They're very similar builds, very similar complexions, very similar everything, and their numbers are
geeked.
1 apart.
Yes, you're like,
oh
my God, he's in.
Oh, touchdown Kyren. Nope, it was Blake Corum.
I'm like, fuck you, Blake Corum. I said fuck you, Blake Corum so many times last year. It was rough. No, I'm terrified of Blake Corum. I'm terrified of what the usage is going to be, what the split's going to look like. I think it's stupid. I think Kyren should be on the field more often. I think he is the more athletic of the two, but I don't trust it, and it makes me very nervous. and I don't really want to risk it for the biscuit. I would prefer to take a running back that I know is going to get more of the split, but Javonte Williams.
Like Javonte Williams. Speaking of Javonte. Okay, so would you take, obviously we have Kyron at 15, we've got Cam Scattaboo at 16, and then Breece Hall and Javonte at 17 and 18. Out of those, if we're looking at ADPs, so you've got Cam Scattaboo at the 4, basically at the 4, Breece Hall late 3rd. I'm going to guess he slips a little bit with the groin injury.
Yes.
Javonte at the 402, and then Kyron is 307. So they're all right in that range. So you're not getting more than one.
No.
You're getting one of them. So let's say you're at the 309. Who are you taking?
Gosh.
On the clock.
Can I semantic it up real quick? Because here's what I'm thinking when I'm thinking about this decision. I'm thinking, based on my first and second pick, how volatile did I already choose from a selection standpoint? And do I want to be safe or do I want to be a little bit risky? If I'm playing it safe, I'm going to go Javonte Williams. He's my safer bet of the 3. We said Kyron, Cam, and Javonte, yes? Because I don't want Breece Hall, so I left him off the list.
Okay, so Breece Hall is just out. You're not
Breece Hall is just irrelevant to my brain.
Got it.
Kyron, Cam, Javonte. I'm probably going to say Javonte feels like my safest bet. Crazy enough, I think he's going to get most of the work, and he feels safer. I like that offense as well. Now, again, if I were to get another Dallas Cowboy earlier, I'm not going to take him at that point. Then I would lean back to my second safe bet. I don't know. Cam would be my most risky decision because I think that he's a little bit scary, in my opinion, because he can just, number one, hurt himself. He's coming off of an injury. I think that there's safer options outside of Cam Scattaboo, but Cam Scattaboo's fun, and I would rather bet on a fun horse. So if I was thinking the safest bet, I'm going Javonte, my secondary option would be Cam Scattaboo, and I would leave Kyron so I don't have to worry about Blake Corum.
Okay. I think I go Kyron, Cam, Javonte. I think Kyron's number one there.
All right.
It's the offense.
Yeah.
If you're looking at who's going to score more points, the Rams scored the most points in the NFL last year. I think they'll be top 3 again this year. They like running the football. Yes, he'll lose touchdowns to Blake Corum, but if he still scores 13 touchdowns and has 1,100 yards, I'm still happy with where I'm drafting him. So, Kyron, Cam, because he's exciting, and Javonte is
safe.
Just not exciting, but
no,
he'll
safe.
get you. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that leads us to Breece Hall. We mentioned him just a little bit, but we did talk about there is an injury. We're going to assume that ADP drops a little bit. Again, nothing too exciting to talk about. That offense is also not the most exciting offense in the entire universe either. So it's just a little bit more of an unknown there too.
Yeah. Geno Smith at quarterback and Frank Reich calling plays as the OC and future interim head coach when Aaron Glenn inevitably gets fired. It's not exciting at all.
No.
So I'm just out. I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm not drafting Breece Hall. I don't think I've ever had Breece Hall on one of my teams. Not that I don't think he's a good back, but I've always liked people
more than him
in that area more than I like him. So I'm just out. I'm out.
Yeah. And that leads us to, is that our last
also
one?
Out on, nope,
Bucky.
We got Bucky Irving at 19. I'm also out on him.
Yeah.
Because I'm scared to death of the injury.
Terrified.
He's a little guy. I just can't do it. I don't want to get burnt. But again, this could be a league-winning pick. Because you also could get a guy that's got top 5, top 6 potential. And, I mean, in the 4th round, that's incredible. You also could get a guy that plays 3 or 4 games, gets hurt, out for 3 weeks, plays a game or 2, gets hurt, and then it's just bouncing around. So I typically don't like using, one of my top 4 or 5 round picks on guys that I am worried about injury, unless I believe that they can be the number 1 or 2 in their position, like a CMC. I'm willing to take that risk because CMC can score 30, 40 more points than the next guy at running back. Mm-hmm. Bucky can't do that. So for me, I'm out on him.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. Injuries are something that you want to consider putting them into the equation. Not always, but if there's similar guys around them where it's not going to cause that, then I'm going to pass on the guy who's potentially hurt and go for the guy who's fully healthy. that way I don't have the heartbreak of week 2 watching somebody go down and you slowly watching your entire season become less interesting.
Yep. Now I am interested in this next guy, so I want to know what you think. Are the last guy that we're ranking today, DeAndre Swift? It comes in at number 20, Chicago Bears running back. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I am interested in DeAndre Swift this year as well. I think that I would be far more likely to pass, let's say if we get down into that Bucky conversation, I'm passing on Bucky, maybe I'm taking a wide receiver there instead, and then waiting for DeAndre Swift to drop into that late fifth round too. I think you can get a lot of value, and specifically some of these running backs later in the draft. I think was it last year, was there more wide receiver depth later in the draft that you could wait a little bit for wide receiver, take your running backs early?
Typically, you'll get a little bit more depth at receiver later in the draft. You also have to, and we'll go over this. We have an episode coming up that's 10 things to know to win your draft, and one of them being knowing your league. So we'll get into that a little bit. Tune into that episode because that's going to be very important to listen to before your draft. But to your point, I think Swift at the 5-6 turn is
a steal.
Yeah, I think it's great value.
I think there's a lot of guys down here that have good value for where they're being drafted at. But yeah, I think if you fall into Swift deep in that 5th round, geez, oh Pete's, yeah, absolutely. I think he's a playable, like immediately playable too. This isn't even like, oh, I'm gonna sit on him and wait. No, I think he's a valid start option immediately.
Yeah, I think he's a really good pick if you go with the strategy of taking a onesie, a quarterback, or a tight end early.
Agreed.
Because that means you're gonna have. I mean, typically when you take a onesie, if you take a running back or receiver in the first and maybe the second, but when you have the onesie in the second, third round, you're gonna be short on either running back or receiver. So if you end up with a top tier running back in the first round, a onesie in the second or third, and then get a couple receivers in there, I'm okay waiting and trying to pick up somebody like DeAndre Swift as my RB2.
Yep.
Because you're going to get the positional advantage in the onesie position. I think he's a really good RB2. He'll be steady. He'll have some pretty decent weeks, but, running back 15 last year, 19, 20, 21, 15, 18, that's his career. I'm okay with that for my RB2 if I also have a Brock Bowers or a Trey McBride or a Josh Allen on my team, and I've got an elite running back, right? I've got a Gibbs, a Bijan, a CMC, a guy that can take me over the top. I'm okay taking Swift as my RB2.
I agree. I think in that category too, or in close, DeAndre Swift, I would be okay with taking a Bishal Tutin. I would be okay with taking a Travis Etienne as long as we know we're a little bit worried about the running back situation there.
Etienne.
Whatever. I would be comfortable with taking him. Even a David Montgomery, I would be comfortable with taking as a second RB2 option that you're going to get deeper in that draft if you go onesie early. I think there's good value there. So if you want to risk it on that onesie position, or even if you just want to go wide receiver heavy early and take some of those big fucking names and I know for me when I'm playing most of your positions, you're playing wide receivers and flex typically. Unless you get like an outstanding running back, you're usually leaning a little bit more wide receiver. Filling that out early, you got some running back depth this year that isn't shitty.
Yep, absolutely. Any other names that you want to mention that you like that are deeper in the draft?
I think the only other name that I'm not going to say I like, but I would love your decorum on is Quinshon Judkins. How do you feel about him this year?
Not great.
Not great.
Coming from a Browns fan.
I know, that's why I asked.
I think he's a great player. I just don't think the team's very good. The line is still a work in progress, so they're going to be a bottom third offensive line. Their quarterback situation is one of the worst in the NFL by far. So I'm just not excited about watching this football team. And coming again from a Browns fan, I typically don't ever have Browns on my team because I don't want to be disappointed twice. I don't want to be disappointed on Sundays by both my team losing and my fantasy team losing. So I typically try to steer clear of all Browns players. But a couple guys I am excited about. Travion Henderson, former Buckeye, second year with the Patriots, just came out. He's going to have a 50-50 split.
Oh, they did finally announce that.
It was a report, so a report came out. 50-50 split is reported. He'll get second, third down work, assuming that his pass protection holds up. So I am excited for that. I think it's a boom-bust player. David Montgomery, we've already mentioned. Steady Eddie. He is not a sexy play at all.
Nope.
But again,
He's
like
a
a DeAndre,
vegetable.
he's a vegetable. You got to eat your vegetables. I know you don't eat many of them, but I love my vegetables.
Oh, yeah, guys, I pass on the fucking veggies all the time.
And then the last one here is Jordan Mason, running back for the Vikings.
Jordan, I have another name. Okay, cool.
He's all the way down in the 10th round in
10th
ADP
round.
right now. Yep, he's a great depth piece with higher upside. So he's still splitting work with Jones. However, Jones is now over 30. He's getting older. I think Jordan Mason can have a good year. It was a bad year last year.
I was going to say, that's what we rumored. After Jones went down, too, we thought Mason would come up. He didn't.
But the team was so bad last year.
Yep.
And now that Poo-Poo, J.J. McCarthy, isn't going to be the starter, and they don't have the shell of Carson Wentz, and they just ran him in the ground, and I don't even know the names of the other two guys they started, but they were terrible. Yeah, just awful players. So he's very fast. It's a good scheme. KOC's a very good head coach. So I really like Jordan Mason in the 10th. Again, as a depth piece, I don't want him to be a starter, but he's got high upside.
Okay. So similar round in the 10th round, I like Kenneth Gainwell. We know he went over to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and obviously with the issues of Bucky Irving, also Rashad White gone, Rashad White used to fill that kind of like check down pass role as well. I think Kenneth Gainwell, obviously we saw him be the second leading wide receiver for the Steelers last year, even though he was the running back. So I think that would be an interesting selection, specifically to if for some reason Bucky goes down, that elevates his role tremendously. And I think that could be a sneaky snag later in the draft to either cover your ass if you have Bucky, or to be really good leverage or a potential starting running back if something were to happen to Bucky as well.
Sure. Yeah. I think Kenneth Gainwell is, again, he's a guy you're going to throw on your bench towards the end of drafts, and it's a good depth piece who could end up filling in for a few weeks. If Bucky gets hurt, I think he could be a guy that you could start in your lineup. He's definitely not a guy that you're expecting to be in your lineup. If he's consistently in your lineup, then your team's probably pretty bad.
Your team sucks.
Then your team probably sucks. But no, I think he's a good player for the NFL. He just, his upside is limited, but sure. He did good last year. So
he looked great. He came out. Yeah, I would agree. All right, well, that's all we got for you guys on the running back side of the football. Like we always say, make sure you stay tuned, subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. We will continue to be putting out more episodes pre-season. So a few episodes coming up here. We have more positional breakdowns and rankings, so we still have wide receivers and tight ends left to go. We're going to do a values and busts episode, draft strategies, and we already aired on this, but 10 things to know before draft day and more. Make sure you follow us on socials, both TikTok and Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss an episode, so you can ensure you actually win the championship this year, guys. We are so excited to be back, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Peace.